Hi guys! This week we're going to be working on a SoundBoard project. This is going to implement how to bring in sound through MP3 files, as well as using button and different color options, okay? So I'm just going to show you guys what I made. It's a SoundBoard project for animal sounds. The first noise is a bird, then a dog, a cow, guinea pig, and so forth. And then we use the stop button to stop this noise, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to make your own on Codepen today. So what you guys are going to do first is we're just going to go to the regular Codepen page. So once you're here, you'll see, I'm already logged in, so I'm going to log out for you guys, but on the top right, you should see a sign up or log in section. Sign up if you don't have an account, but if you are a Codemoji user, you should have your login info already. You should come to a page like this, and then on the left-hand side, you're going to click Create Pen. Once you've clicked that, you're going to see a screen similar to mine, where you've got this gray large section. That's going to be your program viewer or code screen, where you're going to be able to see your actual web page come to life. And then on the left-hand side or right-hand side, depending on how yours came out, you'll see HTML, CSS, and JS. So I'm just going to make mine a little bit bigger. You guys can do that as well, so you have room to type. But what we're going to do is deal with the HTML portion first, and how we're going to do that is we're going to use div tags. So we're going to do div, and then we're going to classify that as buttons. And so this is going to be the main part of our HTML. It's going to hold all of our separate button tags and where we'll link in our music for the tags. So I have an open div and close div. And then also we want to fix this 7 unsaved changes and name your project in the top left, okay? Then after you've done that, you give it a name, you're going to go over to the top right and click Save. So now it should auto-save your work, but you might want to click Save every so often. So what we're going to do is use these other tags inside for all 12 of those boxes that I had called A tags. They're Hyperlink Tags, which will let us actually put in our sound URL. So you're going to do A, and then we're going to use tab index, TABINDE, oh, spelled it wrong, X equals, and then quotations, and we'll call that 1 for the first one. Then we also want to classify that, so class equals, and we're going to say 1, but we're going to spell it out, okay? So 1, and we're going to close that with the close alligator, and then as well, we're going to use a close A tag. So open alligator / A close alligator. And I'm going to cheat and just copy this onto the next one. If you know how to copy and paste, you can do that as well. But we're going to do this for all 12 of them. But make sure that you change the tab index to the next number and the class as well. So I'm going to do this for all 12 of them. I'll show you guys one more. And then I'm just going to skip forward and I will show you guys how to do this. Sorry, I'm still typing. You're going to do this 12 times. If you don't want to do it 12 times, if you only want to do like 4 buttons or 4 boxes, that's perfectly fine. You'll have to keep track of that though for later when we divide up the sections. But here I have my 12 tags. I skipped forward a little bit, so if you have to pause and copy those, feel free. I'm going to click Save because I have a lot of work now. But now we're just going to leave the HTML at that. So we'll see over on the program screener side that the different sections that I just circled, those will be where your boxes are going to be, as we saw in my project. So we're going to go to CSS now. We're going to actually bring life to those boxes that we just created, okay, inside the div and a tags. So what we're going to do is we're going to call body first, because we want to make sure to implement margin and padding size, which I will show you guys back in my project in a second, but this is just going to get rid of any white borders or white space that you could have around your soundboard or boxes in general. So here I'll show you in mine. I have my colored boxes go out all the way to the edge and all the way to the bottom. There's no extra white space. There's no other part of the web page except for the soundboard. And that's what we did by the padding and the margin equaling 0. So then as well, we want to actually make the individual buttons, we want to make sure that they fit to their button space that they're given, okay? So we're going to deal with our class from HTML called class buttons for the div tags. We're going to call that by doing dot buttons, okay? For any class equals name that you give, it's going to be dot and then that class name. So here, now we're going to do padding and margin equals 0. Again, if you want some white space, feel free to mess around with those numbers and not make them 0. But if you do, whatever number you choose, you have to put px or em, I think is the other option. I would say px works best. But for now, we're doing display grid so that it sets up in that boxy way. And then we're going to do 2 separate grid display options, grid template columns, so grid dash template columns, and then grid dash template rows. And we're going to actually give out some numerical values for the columns. And so the way that this screen is set up is going the widthwise, so along the x-axis, if that makes sense. We're going to denote that distance called VW, and for the rows it's going to be VH, but it goes about 100 VW across. So we want 4 columns and we want 3 rows. So we'll do 25 VW for all of them for the columns, to have 4 columns, so it separates it out nice and even in 4 chunks. So 100 divided by 4 is 25. And as well for the rows, we want that divided by 3 since we want 3 rows. And we'll do 33 VH 3 times. This is the part where if you decided not to do 12 boxes, you're going to have a different split up. Depending on the columns and the rows that you want and the number of boxes, you'll have to figure out the math from there. But it's 100 VW on across and then 100 VH up and down. So now we've done that. Now we want to go call that A section. So each of those individual A hyperlinks, so each of the boxes, A tab index 1, tab index 2, all of those, we're going to create a section for them. So we're going to, inside our buttons, we had font or words, so we're going to set our font size to about 25 px. We can change that later once we actually see some font. And then we're going to also do text decoration. This is kind of an add-on, but I noticed when I was creating mine, when I did text decoration, or when I didn't use text decoration, it gave an underline to each of my words in the box. So we're going to do text decoration none. And then as well, we're going to make sure there's a little bit of padding above the word in the button section. So it'll be 14 VH, and then our color of our font is going to be black. As well, we want our text aligned in the center. All of these options that I just chose, aside from text decoration, are up to you, including the outline that I just typed out. Outline is whether or not you want your box to be outlined when you actually click the link. So it gives it a blue link since it's a hyperlink. But as you guys saw, in mine, we had a gray outline for my original project when the button was clicked. So we don't want that blue. If you do, feel free. But I got rid of that. So now we're going to go section by section for the different 1 through 12 boxes, and we're going to set the background color for them. So you guys saw how I had a lot of different blues, greens, yellows, and pinks. I'm going to give a background color, and then now we'll see our first box, or button, whichever you want to call it, is there now. But instead of that blue, you can use any color, blues, reds, simple colors, but I want these lighter, different colors. So how we do that is we can go to a site called the HTML color picker. If you just look up HTML color picker or look up the URL that I have above. I'm going to go to the color mixer tab though, and I'm going to choose a gradient of colors. So I can go from light colors to dark colors for mine, but you can mess around and choose two different colors. For the colors to switch to, so over on the right hand side you could see that, but here I want to go light to dark. So on the right you can see that flow or gradient of colors. So I'm going to choose a color that was kind of similar to that blue that I had. I think this one's right. Nope, this one. Okay. So this one's the one I want, and then we're going to copy that. We're going to find the color that we want for each of them, and we're going to copy that hashtag letter or hashtag numbers. So this one's F0FAFF. Just make sure you copy that word for word with the hashtag. These are called Hex Colors, and it's just a different way to bring your colors. And if you want to do simples, though, you can keep it red, blue, pink, light blue, light pink, all of those. Just make sure there's no spaces in your color name. So I'm just going to grab a couple more colors now. In the meanwhile, though, you guys are just going to make your 12. So I already went ahead and made all 12, and now you guys can see that I have my same color gradient and color boxes as I did for my the opening project that I showed you guys. So take the time to pause and fill out your colors. I just didn't want to have to make you guys watch while I did all the colors. So now we're going to go from there. And also, yeah, you guys can see that it's split up properly by the rows and the columns. Yeah, so you guys can call each of those different class sections by class 1, so .1, .2, all of the above. But now we want to add some text in there in our boxes. So I had animals, but I'm just going to write text for now so you guys can see. So here's text, and it pops up on there. So again, in the section called A in our CSS text editor box, that's where we set that font size. The padding top, so the padding top is how far down the word is from the top. We can align it to the right or the left, however we want. I'll show you how that padding top changes. So if I have no padding top, it's at the very top, which I don't think looks very pleasing. 10 VH, again, VH goes for height. 10 VH will make it a little bit better, but let's do 15 VH to make it nice and good. Actually, 14 VH works better. So now that I have that set up, we're going to mess around with the font size so you guys can see how that changes. But I want to keep it actually at 25, okay? So we're going to keep it there. And we're going to go ahead and start putting in our actual names for all of our buttons. So I'm going to do the animals again. You guys definitely don't have to do the animals. Whatever noises you want or sounds for each of those boxes. feel free to title it what you want. If you're not sure yet, you can come back and do that later, but it'll be between that open A tag and that close A tag. So I'm just going to put the rest in for right now. So once I've done that, I also made sure that at the end, rather than having all the boxes be animals, I want to make sure that I can stop the sound if it gets annoying or if I don't want it anymore. So I made the 12th button stop. But we want to make sure that that stop is prominent, so we're going to bold it. So under that .12 in the CSS section, we're going to do font weight. So font-weight, bold. Okay? So this will make it nice and bold and prominent against the rest of the text in the page. So you can see peacock, rooster, birds, all of that. They are all regular size. But again, we're not done just yet. We've made all these pretty boxes, but we want to make them actually light up when we click them. So we're going to do something with the A section again. So each of those link boxes, we're going to use A, but we're going to make a new section, and we're going to call it A:focus. Okay? So give me just a second. Got to check my outline. I'm going to do that A tag again. And we're going to do :focus. And so this means when it's clicked, it's going to do our particular change in how it looks. So we're going to change the border radius of it so it expands a bit bigger. And we're going to change that to about 0.25 px. And so the border radius is when it expands and that shadow comes out. That's how it'll affect it. We're going to do color black for our shadow that comes out. You guys can do light gray or whichever you prefer. We also want to make it that when you guys saw the button looks like it's actually getting clicked and it expands out like this. We are going to make it transform by a scale of a little bit bigger than 1. If you want it super big, you can do like 2 or 3. That'll make it pretty big and cover the whole page. So instead I'm going to do 1.02 or 0.5 works. But I'm going to stick with 1.05 because I feel like that worked best. Not too big of a change, but also well enough that you can see it. Then we're going to also do something called z-index. Z-index, : and this is going to help us actually make it come out of the page a bit. So we're going to use a value of 100. You can change that value. It just has to be bigger than about like 50 to make it actually come out the page. And then we're going to use box shadow. So box-shadow. This is going to have 4 separate values. So not actually 1, 2, 3, 4, but we'll do 1 px, 1 px, and then I'll use like 5 px to 5 px for the others. This is going to be how far the the shadow around the box comes out. And I'm also going to set it to the color white, okay? So now when I click it, you guys can see that my box actually comes out of the page a bit. So it looks like you're clearly clicking a button. It's a little bit of a cheat to make things look like buttons, but I promise you it'll work really well. But we've done this, yet we haven't set up our sounds yet. So we're gonna go after it says birds, or whatever text you put in between. Yep, I'm gonna section out some space so you guys can see. After it says class equals 1, we are going to type in the function datafx, data-fx. This is gonna help us get our URL. We're gonna use equal and then 2 quotation marks, the little bunny rabbits, okay? And this is where we're going to put our sound file. So we're going to go to a site called SoundBible, and I'll show you guys the URL. But once you get there, you'll see SoundBible. You're going to click that, and it's going to look something like this. You're going to go in the search bar, and I'm typing in animal just so I can get some general animals here, and see what I can find. But above you can see the URL. But my first one, we want birds, okay? So we're gonna look for something that looks like a bird. We see a couple different options. I think these look all fine and well, but I'm gonna actually go look up bird just so I can make it easier. So I found one that says cartoon birds. I'm gonna click on it. And once you're there, you're gonna click on this button that says share next to the name, okay? And once you're there, you're gonna see this pop up. And this is going to get a little bit tricky, just pay attention. After it says the word file, so if you can find that, it's about 3 lines down, 3 or 4 lines down. And then after the equal sign, so after file equal, it's going to say HTTP something. We're going to highlight from there all the way to right before it says .mp3. Okay? And I'll show you guys this again in a bit faster speed later. But if you have to pause and look what I just highlighted, go ahead and rewatch that or pause it there. But now, once we do that, we are going to be able to actually have our sound in there. If I click on it, it won't do anything yet because we need to do the JS portion of it. But for now, we've got our MP3 file inside of that box, okay? We're going to do that for all of the other boxes. So for the rest of my 11 boxes, but you guys might have only 4 or however many boxes, but I'm going to go through and pick out dog again. This is all pretty fast speed just to speed up the process of the video. But now I've put in all of my sound files. If you need to go back and rewatch this or pause it, feel free. I know I went a little bit fast there, but just make sure that you are copying the file from there and not just copying and pasting the file from clicking on the sound. I found that that didn't work too well. So now we're going to use the JS or the JavaScript section, and this is going to make our sound and page come to life. So we got to go to settings up in the top right, and we're going to click JS under the left-hand side, and we have to put in an external script or an external code. So pause, please type down this, please pause and type down this code URL word for word, because this is going to be an external code that we'll use to actually make our code work. And so here I'll show you what it looks like. It's very long, a lot of words, so we don't want to have to type that out ourselves. So we're just going to import it into our stuff. So go back and pause and retype that, but for now we're going to be in JS, and we're going to type money sign with parentheses and 2 quotations, then inside there dot buttons A, okay? After that we'll do dot on parentheses, quotations, click, comma, so outside of the quotations, comma, function, parentheses E, okay? And that last parentheses, that's a part of the click and function spot, you're gonna put that all the way down. And then inside of that function, we always want inside functions to use the curly braces. So open and close curly braces. This is up by your P or delete key. Okay, I'm just gonna fix mine a little bit so you guys can see it better. But you have to make sure that you've got that close curly brace before the close parentheses. These are going to close out our entire function and embody it all in a script, okay? So here we are first going to use E dot prevent default, and we're going to use some parentheses with a semicolon. We always want to finish off our lines of code with semicolons. We're going to use another money sign with open parentheses and open quotations, audio, and then we're going to do dot remove with another set of parentheses and semicolons. Here we're going to be making a variable, so var fx, it's going to be our sound variable. We're going to use money sign again, open parentheses, this, and then outside of there, dot attr, which is kind of like attribute, just say attr. Inside there, parentheses, quotes, and data fx, because that's our name that we used for the URLs up above. So data dash fx and another semicolon. And then from there, we'll use another money sign. And here's going to be where we're going to actually make sure that our code turns into a playable file. So here I'm going to type in some words. This part I'm just going to have you guys pause at after if you need to see what I'm typing in, because I know all these words probably don't make sense to you. I've done coding for very many years, and they still make very minimal sense to me sometimes. So all I can say is this whole JS section is going to help turn our hyperlinks, our MP3 files that we took from SoundBible, so our bird sound, dog sound, all of those, it's going to turn it into a playable file for our code. So I've got a couple more lines to write, about 2 more, and then I would suggest you guys pause it and watch after that and just type in word for word what you see. You want to be very careful with syntax throughout, or else something might go wonky and not work. So now we're going to close out this section by saying source equals, and we want to put in our file from above, so the fx, the variable fx, it's going to be our URL from above. And then we're going to have that plus, and since our file is a .mp3, this might differ if you're not watching or if you didn't go to the same site and you have a .wave or something else. I would say find a .mp3 file though. These are most compatible with the JS functions, so .mp3 is what you're going to write. And then you're going to also write what the audio type is. And that's going to be audio type, or type equals audio MPEG. And that's just the type of MP3 that it is. And MP3 is just, MP3 is for audio and MP4 is for videos. We're not doing video links here though, but if you do a video link, it's going to be a little bit different in future reference. So here, once you've typed that, you're going to close off that section inside of that money signed and those parentheses, and you're going to go down to the next line after that, and you're going to write dot append to, APPEND, capital T O, and then open parentheses, buttons. And so this is going to tell it to listen to the button functions that we set above. And so now that we have done all that, we are going to be able to, so I'm just showing all the code that we just got done. We are now going to be able to hear our buttons. Okay, so I'm going to click save. And first we'll hear birds, and dogs, cow, guinea pig, and all the rest you can click, but I'm going to stop it. So now you should hear sound. If you can't, please go back and make sure that you fix anything from this video. But as well, that stop, when you guys were putting in all your sounds, make sure that that stop does not have a sound in it, so it's got to be open, so it just immediately stops all the sound. But here we got peacock, another stop, birds, dogs, cow, cat, frogs, and then stop. So this will stop all of those different sounds. But yeah, so I'm going to change the view so it's full page so you guys can see it. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed our lesson today. I'll play the bird noise again. Dog, cat, rooster, and stop. So here you can hear all of these noises. I'm going to mute the rest of these noises just in case if I accidentally click a button so you guys don't hear them. But you guys should feel pretty confident in what you did today, because now you made your own little soundboard and you made Some buttons produce sound with just a few lines of code. So, bye!